Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. It truly is. Before we get started, let me give you my usual disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only. Please do not take what I say as fact. Please always do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Next, if you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please consider doing so. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. Okay, so today we are talking about the tree trimming serial Ryan Scott Blinston. He was born on August 26, 1983 in California. There's actually very little known about his life, which is pretty disappointing because I feel like that would help give us a better picture of what we are working with. But nevertheless, we're going to venture on. His first encounter with law enforcement would be in 2006 when he was just 22 years old. He was caught driving a stolen black Ford Explorer in Hanover, New Hampshire, and was convicted of felony theft for this. After his release from prison, he would end up moving back to California. He would cross paths with law enforcement again in 2013 after he was caught with 3 stolen guns from 3 separate robberies that he had committed. When he was caught with these stolen guns, he was also driving a stolen Lexus. He served his sentence at Pleasant Valley State Prison in Coalinga, California. Okay, so jump ahead to May of 2020. Blinston was working for a tree trimming company based out of Oroville, California. Oroville is located about 65 miles north of Sacramento, California, and it's about 17.1 square miles. It's situated on the banks of the Feather River and was established as the head of navigation on the Feather River to supply gold miners during the California Gold Rush. May 19th, 2020, Blinston had just finished some tree trimming work for an elderly couple in Los Molinos, California. 91-year-old Homer Glenn Servers and his 88-year-old wife, Lorene May Servers. The couple had lived there since the 1960s. Homer was a veteran of the Korean War, and they would take walks together every single day, share fruit from their trees with their neighbors, and they were described as 2 of the nicest people that you would ever meet.
A retired mechanic for Tama County. He was a shop foreman, and he liked to restore old vehicles, old pickups.
Frank's 88-year-old Aunt Lorene didn't survive.
They'd go out and walk every day, in the morning, 2 miles in the morning, 2 miles at night, and my aunt, she never met a stranger. Yeah. She'd walk up to you today and just tell you a joke.
Saturday, May 23rd, 2023 at 7:46 a.m., Blinston broke into the home of Lorene and Homer. Homer was stabbed in the neck and Lorene was stabbed once in the torso.
On May 23rd, 2020, Ryan Blinston showed up at the Los Molinos couple's home. He'd just finished some tree trimming work for them and then slashed both their throats. But Homer got away and ran to Frank for help.
Here comes my uncle through my back door, covered from blood from head to toe in his underwear. And I said, what the hell happened to you? You fall down and hurt yourself? Because he was in the early stages of Alzheimer's. And he says, no, a guy in a mask came in and killed your aunt and tried to kill me.
Luckily, Homer was able to get out of the residence and run to his nephew Joseph's home, who lived next door to the couple. Homer was taken by helicopter to the hospital. He was listed in critical condition, but he would ultimately make a full recovery. Sadly, though, Lorene would end up passing away from her injuries. In December of 2020, Homer would pass away from an unrelated illness, but his family strongly believes that it was a broken heart that ultimately killed him. June 4th, 2020, Blinston was part of the crew that did work for 82-year-old Sandra George. After the crew finished their job, everyone packed up and went home. Blinston would decide to go back to the home of Sandra later that night. He broke into her home and fatally stabbed her in the throat.
Blinston struck again. His victim, another tree trimming customer, 82-year-old Sandra George of Oroville.
Just did the tree job at her house, and he went back an hour later and killed her.
Yeah.
It seemed like it began with the elderly, and then from that point on it went to others as well.
June 5th, 2020, Sandra's body would be found in the home at 5 o'clock p.m. June 6th, 2020, Blinston would hang out with an acquaintance of his, 56-year-old Vicky Cline. At around 8 o'clock p.m. that same day, Oroville Fire Department were called to put out a car fire between Pine Street and Robinson. After the fire was extinguished, fire inspectors confirmed that the fire was the result of arson with an accelerant. June 10th, 2020, Oroville police receive a call for a missing person. That person would end up being 56-year-old Vicky Cline. Police would quickly realize that the missing person was the same person that owned the vehicle that was set on fire just 3 days prior. Because of this, an immediate investigation was launched. Authorities would end up matching blood and DNA that was found on Blinston's car to Vicky Cline. So now the search is on.
Next, Blinston killed his friend, Vicky Cline, and torched her car. Fishermen found Cline's body in the Feather River near Belden on June 21st. A week earlier, a Butte County Sheriff's SWAT team tracked Blinston to a very remote road in Brush Creek.
They would track Blinston down to a motorhome on Millsap Bar Road in Brush Creek. The motorhome belonged to a man by the name of Robert Smith. Robert was an acquaintance of Blinston's who agreed to let him crash at his home. June 14th, 2020, Smith woke up to Blinston attacking him with a knife, stabbing him in the neck. He was able to push Blinston off of him and out of the motorhome and was able to lock the door behind him. But instead of running, Blinston went, grabbed an axe, and began trying to break down the door. Then, literally, by the grace of God, all kidding aside, the SWAT team that was tracking him down found him while he was in the middle of the murder and was able to save Robert Smith.
Robert Allen Smith in Brush Creek. Smith survived the attack and says it still haunts him.
I have to wake up every morning and look in the mirror and see the scar on my neck from the wound inflicted, reminding me of that horrific night. In a sense, it's a life sentence for me.
Had this been any other night and had the SWAT team not been on his trail, there is zero doubt that Blinston would not have been able to break down the door of the motorhome and finish what he had started.
Prior to our SWAT team arriving in the middle of the night, Blinston attacked him, right? And he was fighting for his life, right? And he was able to get him out of the RV and hold the door shut. And then Blinston armed himself with an axe, right? And began to try to break through this door.
Blinston's acquaintance, Robert Smith, survived through unbelievable luck.
On any other night, there would have been nobody to help him, and eventually Blinston would have been able to break through that door with that hatchet. But as it turned out, the Butte County Sheriff's SWAT team happened to be moving into the area. It is a miracle, and I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but this is a true miracle.
Blinston ran into the forest and hid, but SWAT was able to track him down and they took him in very shortly after. Blinston was booked and held without bail. June 21st, 2020, a fisherman would discover the remains of a woman in the Feather River. June 22nd, 2020, The remains would be confirmed to be those of mother of three, Vicky Cline. Blinston was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted resisting arrest, and arson. He pled not guilty, of course he did, and on May 2nd, 2021, his trial began. Prosecutors brought in hundreds of pieces of evidence in the form of photos, diagrams, cell phone data, business records, surveillance videos, and witnesses. 35 witnesses, in fact, that were there to testify against him. On August 4th, 2022, Ryan Blinston was found guilty on all counts and received 3 life sentences that he is currently serving at North Kern State Prison.
It feels good for it to be over, and I'm glad to know that he's never going to walk outside again a day in his life.
This man not only took multiple lives, he's also taken mine, if not all of our livelihood. He made me realize that evil and monsters actually do exist. What used to be a carefree life has been replaced with constantly looking over my shoulder. It's a horrible way to live.
Sadly, Robert Smith has recently passed away from a drug overdose. All right, guys, if you're still here, thank you. I love you, and I appreciate you so very much. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't yet. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. And until next time, stay safe out there.